All right, Marquia, thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with me today. I've wanted to do this with you for several weeks, and
Yes.
I am just so proud from sitting as the productivity coach and watching your development over the last year, from your previous brokerage and all of the things that you have accomplished since you've come to Keller Williams, in particular, your success as a dual career agent, and kind of what's next for you. So I just want to give you a platform to share your story and to give some of the listeners some tips and strategies that you have used, and to share a little bit of your story so others can be inspired and see that this journey, although it is challenging sometimes, is absolutely possible, and the goals that you set are absolutely attainable. So as long as you're intentional about what you do each day, and you certainly are. Tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate, and then ultimately kind of what your business looked like roughly a year ago when you joined Keller Williams, and kind of where we sit today.
Okay. Well, Bill, thank you. First of all, you've been my biggest cheerleader throughout this entire process. You made promises from the beginning and stuck with them. So I'm definitely appreciative of Keller Williams, what they brought to my business, and definitely you joining the PC program.
Thank you.
So I've been in real estate, have my real estate license going on 3 years in October. I was with a previous broker before I came to Keller Williams last September 2020. My background is actually in property management. I've been in property management 10 years now. Currently a property manager in Alpharetta. So they kind of go hand in hand. I kind of knew as soon as I graduated college that I wanted to do real estate. It was always a goal of mine. So I made sure that I, did whatever I needed to do possible, even with being a dual career with real estate, getting my license. I did night classes from 6 to 10. So the dedication has always been there for me to be a real estate agent. And so with that dedication, I definitely wanted to make sure that I had a successful business, because it was something that was important to me. Not only putting people in temporary housing, which is what I do with property management, but I wanted to put people in permanent homes, and really just see the smile on their faces and build that relationship, because I am good at property management, and I know I can be great at real estate as well too, which is what drives me to put people in homes.
Yeah.
So going back to actually, what was it, June of last year, I was actually invited to Mega Camp. No, was it Mega Camp? No, it was what was it? Not Mega Camp. What's the other one, Bill?
Family reunion. It might have been like
Bold. It's Bold.
Bold. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I was actually invited to Bold by Bill while I was with my previous brokerage. And honestly, with the previous brokerage, I honestly thought that everything was going good, and I thought that it was me as an agent that was lacking in areas, versus me not knowing I was missing certain tools in order to help me become successful as a dual agent. Bill pretty much poured into me after Bowl. He saw something in me while I was still with the previous brokerage. Then I got in contact with Aubrey, and I'm like, okay, they're still pouring into me, and I'm not in Bold anymore. So,
Right.
Obviously they have my best interest. And Bill actually asked me once, he was like, oh, how's it going over there? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm just a bad agent. Let me get my stuff together. Like, I don't have any issues with my brokers. And then they started to, do the RMEA, and actually breaking down different ways for me to build my business. And so versus me just trying to figure it all out, I was actually able to pick my top 3 things of how I wanted to build my business, which is that structure that I didn't know I needed. When I was receiving one-on-one coaching with my previous broker at the same time. And it was more so just of only mindset. It wasn't necessarily steps as to how I can build my business. It's like, well, what's holding you back? What's holding you back? I'm like, I don't know what's holding me back if I don't.
They
I
might
don't know
not have
what's
known
holding
either.
me back if I don't know the steps to, and don't get me wrong, the books that I was reading, everything, it's always mindset, but it's more than just mindset. I had to have a map, and that goes to the GPS.
Yep.
That I was asked to do, and I'm doing a GPS, and I had the MREA, and I'm like, okay, this is actually starting to make sense. And so I did make the executive decision. I asked Bill one day, I said, hey, how would it look if I came over to Keller Williams? And he's like, I thought you would never ask. So from there, he continued to coach me. We had our weekly calls, and I actually was able to focus on the different things that I wanted to do to build my business. And it's coming up on a year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's coming up on a year, and it's like coming up on a year, like the ball, what is it? The snowball is just like keep rolling and rolling.
Yeah, we timed this pretty nicely because I think, what did you do? 2 buyer agency agreements last week, another 2 this week, and over the weekend you took a listing and put it under contract, and you got another listing coming at the end of this week, right?
Then I got a call last night that was like, hey, I'm inviting you over next week. I'm doing the paint, and I want you to list my house and sell my house. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, we were talking about this a second ago. Like, I think there's probably 3 qualities in a person, in my opinion, that separate those that do incredibly well from those that don't do all that well. And that is, are you coachable?
Yep.
Right? Are you coachable? Are you resourceful? Right?
And learning based.
And are you learning based? Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that I've always admired that about you. You probably have, if I was to give out the award for best attendance, right, at the meetings, you would probably win. And that's challenging for a dual career.
Yeah, it's a way to start my day. My alarm go off at 8:27, and I'm like, okay, it's time for my PC call.
Yeah.
So
and I've got to imagine, you emphasized mindset earlier. Like, sometimes you got to remind yourself you're in business, mm-hmm. right? Particularly when you have other obligations, from a work standpoint. So, there's some people on this that will listen to this that are, quite frankly, struggling as dual career agents or even solo, full-time agents. So what advice do you have for them? How have you been able to manage your time? And, a lot of times they say successful people are not made by what they say yes to, they're made by what they say no to. So I'm sure you've had to make some sacrifices this year. Can you just share some thoughts or advice with those that are listening about how you've been able to kind of keep your mindset strong and have the accomplishments you've had when you have other things, kind of on your plate too?
It's more than anything, I definitely think being transparent. As I stated, I'm a property manager. So just making sure that you have that support system, because there may be times where I have to go out and I have to do a showing or something like that. I try to be as transparent as possible versus kind of like, oh, I have to go. It's like, if I say I have to do this, I do it. And I make sure that my task at work is completed before I do anything. I also definitely have a goal, of course, to become a full-time agent. And I want that to happen sooner than later. But I do have some goals of myself that I need to do first before I become full-time. So I would say, one, making sure that when you have your full-time job, that you keep those priorities in order and don't try to go out of your lane. And like I said, when I say that, you have to prioritize both. When you have clients, one thing for certain, you have to be transparent with your clients. All my clients know that I have a full-time job. I don't try to sugarcoat it. And it's kind of like, hey, I'm a full-time agent. If you need to show, if you want to see something and is at a time that I'm unavailable, then I'll make sure that I have a showing agent so that you're not inconvenienced. Or I don't work on the weekends. So on the weekends, hey, if you want to see, I'm available. But if it's after 5 or 6 o'clock, I can leave work around 4:30, 5 o'clock. I can meet you there, and you won't be inconvenienced, because at the end of the day, just how I have a full-time job, other people have a
They do
full-time
too.
job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
it actually kind of works out, because it's kind of like, oh, well, I work too. I don't get off until 5. I don't get off until 6. And so it's like, especially now it gets dark very late. So it's like, okay, well, let's meet here,
Mhm.
or we'll meet the weekend, because in reality, with how the market is, people aren't just accepting the first offer that they receive.
Right.
And that's one thing that I have to coach my clients on. They always want to be the first one to see the home. And I'm like, hey, look, they're accepting offers until Sunday at 6 o'clock, or a Monday into 6, because I have to coach them as well too. The other agents are building their business on open houses.
Right.
Um, and so when you put it in that aspect, people are more flexible to work around your time.
Yep.
Um, to just, like I said, just being transparent about what you have going on, and people just respect that a lot more and want to work for you, because at the end of the day, people want to see you be successful, and they're like, okay, if I can contribute to you becoming full time, then hey, let's do it.
Right. What you're being very humble right now, because if you weren't delivering high quality service, and you weren't, making sure that deadlines were hit, and if there was moments of urgency that you weren't available for, somebody that got help from could manage those things, you've earned the right for them to trust you. Right.
Mhm.
So the first thing you got to do is earn the right to have that trust. You've certainly done that from day one. So that's more of a natural conversation. One thing I've also admired about you is that, just like anyone that has another job, your schedules are going to get moved around a little bit. There's going to be some urgent days and some more open days, but you've always, at least from my standpoint, you've always had a certain amount of time each day that you dedicate towards growing your business. And in
Yes.
PC, we talk about you got to do two things every day, right? Right. You got to learn every day, which you certainly have been doing. And you got to talk to people every day, right? You got to grow your network every day and your database every day. And there's no secret formula for dual career people, right? There's no like script that we just haven't told everyone else. You just have to do the same amount of job, same amount of work in less time, right? And so you have to be super focused on the goal and how important it is to you and why it's important to you. And of course, make sure that if you're not capable of keeping yourself super focused and super accountable and super disciplined, then you should enlist some support so you can get some help there, right? The other thing I want to just recognize of yours is you've also taken a very much a business owner approach over the course of the last year, right? You working with a virtual assistant, you're working with
Yeah.
a company that helps you with some of your social media, right? You've employed a couple people as showing agents periodically. So that's also, particularly for a newer agent, and particularly for a dual career newer agent, that's a big step, right? To really think of yourself as a business owner and be willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah, and I
Right.
want to touch on that for a second, Bill, because I definitely think that it's important, because I realize that my time is limited. Me and you had that conversation about the assistant. I'm like, I think I need an assistant. And I'm learning how to use the full capability of my assistant, because I'm just so used to doing everything. But I figure like, okay, my main purpose of this is to get more income. And
Mhm.
so my go-to all the time is you have to spend money to make money. And sometimes you will lose money, sometimes you'll try out different things, but at the end of the day, I feel as though I have to spend money to make money. You have to pay somebody for the time that you don't have. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
I decided to do. A lot of full-time agents, they go right into lead gen. I don't have time to lead gen. So I
Mhm.
want to. It was something that was very discouraging to me, just listening on the call. And actually, one of my accountability partners just told me one day and said, hey, just because everybody else is um, lead generating, build your business around you. And that's what I tell people all the time that call me, say, oh, what are you doing? It's not necessarily about what I'm doing. figure out your 3 things that you want to build your business around and make it happen. And it doesn't necessarily have to be lead gen. Like right now, I have someone else lead genning for me, which is working, and I'm doing social media. And, if I have an open house or so, I'm going around and just kind of, doing the text message and introducing myself to people, but I'm not necessarily lead generating. And that is not saying that I would recommend that, but that's just for me personally, meaning that I had to figure out what worked for me versus trying to duplicate myself to be another agent. I can
Right.
only be Marquia.
Well, you're
And
you're
so
using leverage because I mean, it seems like every time you got some good news for me and for the group, it tends to be this person I knew helped me with this, and that person I knew gave me this lead, and that person I knew helped me with this struggle, right? So you've definitely taken a business owner's approach to widening your network, and the bigger your network gets, the easier everything gets. Right?
definitely.
Because you've got a bunch of people out there that are looking for people that want to buy or sell real estate for you because they believe in you and they trust you. And you're going out there building your professional network so that you don't have to do 100% of all the activities. Right?
Exactly. The referrals.
There you go. So what can we expect from you? Probably a couple months, you'll be full time.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next is gonna be definitely transitioning to full time. I would say give me about 4 more months. I'm in the process of getting an investment property. Want to make sure my income and everything is stable. So that's my next big thing. So becoming full time, I'm actually building my database, reaching out to a lot of people. I gave myself 9 transactions this year. I'm definitely on track. May have even more than 9 part time. So
Incredible.
you give yourself a goal, and once you exceed the goal, you're just like, okay, did I shoot myself in the foot? I definitely think the goal that I gave myself was a reasonable goal. But I like to overachieve. I'm definitely looking forward to next year of having a full year. Yes, I said a
Yeah.
full year of
Full year,
being
full time.
a full-time real estate agent. So, just this is something that I just want to say for dual agents. One thing we may end with is just as hard as I work, because I'm a very great worker, just as hard as I work for someone else, I just know if I put the energy and effort in my business that I will be on top no matter
Yeah,
what.
I love the way you said that. It's kind of like this idea of like, let's say you're at the very end of your day, right? And you put in a whole work day to build somebody else's business
Mhm.
and help. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't get stuff from it too, but in all reality, you're helping them build their organization, right?
Exactly.
Yet at the end of the day, there's many days, it probably didn't happen to you much, but there's many days where your typical dual agent maybe didn't put any time into building their own business. So
Mhm.
gosh, doesn't it make more sense to spend time building your business than spend time building somebody else's business, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, if we were to look at your calendar or follow you around all day, would we know you were an agent, right? Would we be able to identify the things that are important to you? Would we be able to guess at how important this goal of transitioning to full time was? So I think I told you this, I think about a year ago. I said I want to make a story out of you, right? I
Yeah.
see some huge potential here. And I just want to publicly thank you for your engagement with the productivity coaching program. You are absolutely a giver. Whenever somebody asks a question in one of the forums, I can always count on you to throw in an answer or give some advice and help somebody out. I'm super appreciative of that. You are great, by the way, at putting your video on during the Zoom calls. So always appreciate that. I'm just super excited to watch what's happening here. We're taking somebody that already had a great mindset and just had an awareness that they weren't reaching their potential like many others. And when you have a plan and you work the plan and you have a bunch of peers around you that want you to be successful, then you get to where you want to be.
Mhm.
And oftentimes the people that are struggling, they they maybe the plan is a little fuzzy, or maybe they don't have a plan, or they don't have a peer or somebody that's, that believes in them. Can you just speak real briefly about the impact that coaching has had for you?
Definitely. One thing that you talked about, one of the three, is being coachable. Once I realized that everyone in real estate, even Bill, no one in real estate is above having a coach. And so I realized that, hey, I'm giving this service and I need to take advantage of it. And so when, you or Candace asked me to do something, I'm like, okay, they're obviously asking me to do it for a reason. And so that's that one thing of being coachable and being intentional about your goals. And if you're intentional about your goals, then of course, you're not going to know how to get there. There's other ways that maybe you haven't even thought about to become intentional about your goals and being coachable. So coaching has been my number one thing. I make sure that if I miss our Tuesday call at 3 o'clock, I'm like, if something get busy, I'm like, Bill, I'm so sorry. Can we please do it at 4 or 5 o'clock? Where, I'm like, 5 o'clock is good. Just call me on my cell phone, because I feel as though I need that. Like, I need to know, what am I doing wrong throughout the week that I can improve on. And sometimes I'm stuck on last week if I don't get that coaching, early in the week, which I'm glad it's on Tuesday, because it's like, okay, now I have a goal. And I think that coaching gives me goals to strive for. And when I know that it's coming up for the next week, Bill has it written down. Last week we talked about that you were going to do X, Y, Z. Did you do it? And I'm like, oh, I did say that. I think Bill probably had more goals of myself written down than I can remember. And
you might have gotten the question once or twice. It's like, so Marquia, is that goal still important to you? I was curious, right?
Yeah. I need to be more intentional on writing my own goals down. So I need to grab my folder from Bill and say, hey, what are my goals again?
Well, one thing that I've noticed at being at Keller Williams for so long, and you could probably attest to this, is we get coaching and how to be a successful business owner and how to deal with buyers and sellers and all that, but so much of what we're learning, it helps us be a better person, right? It helps us be a better friend and a better parent or a better spouse or whatever. And we can't underestimate that. And sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And if you look at, we're going to have mega camp next week, every single person that you see teaching a class or up on stage, they've all got coaches. They've all got coaches. I was told one time Gary Keller spends about $750,000 a year on coaching for himself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah. Nobody's above being coached. And I have people from PC reach out to me all the time, and I always make it my business to answer the call, just because I would want somebody else to answer my call. And one thing, whenever they have anything, say, I'm like, well, did you do the homework that Dale and Candace gave? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe start there before you just maybe ask me what I'm doing, because I did my homework. So, that's just to say that, when a coach asks you to do something or give you a task, just do it and just see what, like Nike, just do it.
Yep.
So
I love that.
Yeah, just do it and see what the results are. Bill asks us all the time, or Candace, to say, but did you die?
Right. You made a call. Is everything okay? Did you get injured?
Everything okay? Did you die today?
Right.
So, that's one thing that I felt like I just had to make time. It's a lot of nights. I'm not getting off my computer until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. My boyfriend can attest. Are you going to get done yet? Like, are we going to watch TV? And I'm like, just give me a second. Like, just play your game for a little while longer.
You're dual career. You're working 2 careers. I mean, that's what it is.
It definitely feels like it. I'm legitimately parking at home, taking off my book bag, unpacking the computer, on a buyer consultation, doing something. But I'm going from one job to the next job. So,
well, that's truly dual career. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
But it's going to pay off.
Oh, no doubt about it. One thing I just want to make sure everyone hears, you've kind of alluded to it a few times, is one thing that another thing successful agents make a habit of is not getting paralyzed by failure, right?
Mhm.
It's, you kind of alluded to it earlier. It's like, hey, we tried this and we figured out it didn't work. Hey, we tried this and we figured out it didn't work. It wasn't tragic. No one died. It's not a big deal. Let's just try something else. Let's get into
Yeah.
action. Right. And that's one thing I've certainly seen a lot of from you. So Marquia, thank you. This has been awesome.
Thank you,
I'm hopeful
Bill.
that the listeners out there have picked up a couple tips and, gotten an opportunity to witness somebody's evolution. And guys, this is just the beginning.
Just the
Okay.
beginning.
Just the beginning. So thank you publicly. The program would not be where it is today without your involvement and your participation. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful day. Okay.
All right, Bill. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.